Hey there, you, me, and DC fans, and welcome if you're new. I am the stepson of Krypton,
Mantis.
and today we continue down the rabbit hole that is Justice League Unlimited, this time with issue or volume number, whatever you want to call it, 6. All right, Mantis, are you ready to get on into this breakdown of Justice League Unlimited?
Oh yes. Yes, yes,
All
yes.
right, guys. I don't want to waste any time. We got a lot to kind of cover in this, so we're going to jump on into it. So let's go. Previously on Justice League Unlimited, issue 5. Guys, for those of you who remember, if you have watched issue 5, our breakdown of it, where we basically just tell you everything that happened in it,
Yeah.
spoiler alert. Since it's been a little bit, I will we'll do a quick little recap. We remember that at the end of that issue, we finally got revealed who the members of Inferno are. Now, issue 6. We're doing a little bit of we're I don't Mantis. I don't know how you felt about it because we had to get some origins, we had to get some backstory. So
This is an origin to me. This is backstory of questions that I had reading the first 5 issues. So this answered questions gives you a little peek of like, because again, and this is not spoilers obviously here, but it's like, how in the hell did Grodd get Martian Manhunter's powers? Did he get all of them? Were they part of them? Like, how did he even get involved in all of this? And where did the Legion of Doom come from? Like, so yeah.
and that was very interesting because it was cool to see the Legion of Doom. You see it earlier on in the issue, and you see them up there, and they're like, "Oh, there's no way these guys have performed." Boom, no, they haven't. However, there's a caveat to that. We're going to get into it because
Yes.
as we go into the backstory, the issue opens up. We're in the African jungle. We're 2 months prior to the start of everything that happened thus far from Justice League Unlimited number 1, and a lot of it, actually, the first several pages are either ads or Grodd narration of where he's kind of, and I say
A lot
ads,
of this.
we discussed off camera. There was a
Yeah.
lot of like filler pages where it's just like talking about, because I will say one thing, guys, real quick. I didn't realize. So on here, and trust me, it'll zoom in a lot better. This is We Are Yesterday Part 2, right? But then when you look at it and you're like, where the fuck was part 1? I went through all my Justice League ones to look at the name. I'm
Yeah.
like, did I miss part 1? Part 1 is actually the Batman Superman World's Finest issue number 38. Okay, so kind of a completely different thing than what we've been doing with all the all-in Justice League Unlimited Absolute Universe. So I've got that on order so I can catch up with what happened with issue 1.
On purpose. I hate it.
Yeah, so got to get that tie-in. However, this is part 2 here, but so there was a lot of ads for the We Are Yesterday and all of that kind of take up, and then it's a lot of Grodd narration. We're talking about how he's always been misunderstood by not only man but his fellow gorillas, right?
Yeah.
And he's talking about how he came to have Martian Manhunter's powers. Now, I will say this: this is the one thing that is kind of interesting. If you have been following along with our Absolute Universe videos, is that when they show Grodd using his telepathic abilities, the coloring looks like that in Absolute Martian Manhunter, right? It looks that same way because it's very distinct from the rest of the artistry of the how the art is in the other comics or in the other Justice League comics. So I look at that and I'm like, that looks like Absolute Martian Manhunter. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm glad you agreed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
It's the same kind of pastelish colors.
That's on purpose.
Yep. Yeah, it has to, 100% has to be, right? So we get all that. He's talking about, the newly formed Justice League, and he actually calls them Justice League Unlimited, which I love. And he's coming up with this plan. He's devising this plan. So we shift over to Austin, Texas, and it's just as a short while ago. So you got to imagine it's within the 2-month period. We see Superman speaking with Airwave, and he's handing him his Justice League Unlimited membership card. Now, this references, and it mentions it in the comic, but this references him helping out during a part of the Absolute Power run. Airwave played a decent sized part in there that impressed some of the big leaguers, and it kind of references that. as well. I will be honest with you, the part of the absolute power that involved Airwave, I have not read that yet. Again,
Mm.
because it's towards the end of it there, so I wanted to jump in midway. We find out through the narration as well that Airwave has kind of been trapped in this time stasis for several decades, right? So he's coming out, uh, and he doesn't have a lot of memory other than maybe the past 2 months, and then he kind of has no other memory, right? So he becomes a member of the Justice League. Next thing you know, he's got his card. They're getting a distress signal from the International Space Station, right? So we flash over to the International Space Station and we meet Deathbolt. Okay, and he's trying to attack the crew. In true villainary fashion, he reveals his whole plan of what he's doing. He was hired by some billionaires that they want to make sure that they want to crash this station so they can put up their own. Now, first thing I initially thought of when I read this was, for those of you who are fans of Lois and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman that ran from 1993 to 1997, the very pilot episode of that is Lex Luthor is trying to basically sabotage the space program, and they're trying to get these last few modules up for this. Otherwise, the space station is going to be doomed, and he's trying to sabotage it so he can put his own space station up here.
Space Station Luthor. Now step right up, don't be shy.
We learn that's kind of the goal of what these people are trying to do, right? These billionaires that hired him, and we don't know if it's Lex. It could be. It doesn't
Could
say it was Lex or not. That just is what it made me think of. Grodd again realized that like he's going to use all of these newfound Martian Manhunter powers to manipulate Airwave. Right? We see all of a sudden Deathbolt gets shot. Assuming he's dead, he looks dead. Right?
He looks pretty dead.
He looks pretty dead. But we see Grodd on the space station, right?
He just pops in there.
Yeah, he's just like, oh,
how the hell did he get up there?
Plot armor, man. This is one of the dialogue. You know, he had a telekinetic bubble around him, right? We see him and he's talking about he basically starts seeding doubt about the Justice League to Airwave, right? And he brings up the fact that you just called for help and no other Justice League member came, and obviously the space station isn't too far from the Watchtower. They're both in space. However, we get a little flash of where Grodd is. Really, Airwave's still in the alley where he first encounters Grodd, right? So all of this is
making him
being projected into his mind, right?
Which he did do a good job of explaining this part that. Grodd does allude to the fact that he can't control superheroes like that. Like, even like because he couldn't control Superman or any of them. Like this is why he's trying to find a different way to combat them. Right. And he does make reference to that where, Airwave, he can't fully control him, but he's a quote blank slate. So he can influence him and he can make him see certain things. So I do like the fact that they kind of explain all of this. And then he kind of goes into why he needs why Airwave's kind of the perfect person for his plot.
And Airwave's young, right? He's naive, right? He's new to the superhero game, and so
but his power.
His power is important, okay? And we only got to see a little bit of his power thus far, but we find out. So basically, Grodd tells him that he's dying from what Grodd basically calls tachyon poisoning, from all of his years in this time stasis, right? And it's happening retroactively. So basically, Grodd tells him that because it's tachyons, and then for those of you who are unfamiliar with tachyons, they've shown up several times in the DC universe, but it is, I say real. It is a real particle, but it is theoretical. It doesn't actually exist. It's never been proven yet, but theoretically, it is a superluminal particle. It's a particle that travels faster than light. Obviously, if you travel faster than light, the theory is you'd be able to go back in time. So, we've seen that even in the Flash series on the CW. He has the tachyon emitter and all of that. So, it tells him when it's happening retroactively, basically what it means is he's going to be retroactively erased from time. So, everything will basically up to his birth will slowly start disappearing, in that order from, where he is now and on, and he will basically cease to exist. He will have never existed. Of course, this freaks him out, right? He tells him that to save him, right, he needs to basically he's got to utilize that tachyon energy and what he's trying
got to
have
help him
do.
Yeah, he's got to help him complete something he needs help with, and then he can. It's basically the line that the Emperor Palpatine gives Anakin, like, "I know we can discover its secrets." Right?
Well,
To cheat death is a power only one has achieved. But if we work together, I know we can discover the secret.
and this goes back to the All In DC special where when Darkseid dies, right? Basically, what happens is there's these like the Omega energy is released, and there's these like basically there are these pockets out there of Omega energy, and they will allow using the tachyon energy. They will allow basically him to go back and forth through time, right?
Mhm.
So basically Grodd basically infuses him with he wants him to use his tachyon energy to infuse him with the tachyon energy so he can access these time portals, because what Grodd's going to do is, and this is kind of like when you think about it in reference to when they talked about it before, is they were talking about how the Legion of Doom, a lot of the members have been reformed, and you're
Right.
like, okay, did they just go bad again? No, he's going back and getting them at their peak back.
Yeah.
Right. So he's going to go get the younger versions, the crazier versions, the ones that were dead set on all of this before they finally found reform. So he basically he's going off and he's going to do his thing. And this is where he leaves Airwave in the hands of the Justice League to basically watch, observe, and get ready for this.
He's a
right?
mole.
The mole. I have a mole.
Mole?
I have a mole?
Mole, 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 mole.
Or because if you remember, and when we first saw Airwave, and at the end he's like, I'll have to kill you all, right? And you're like, okay, that's a little intense, man, but all right, whatever. So all of that's happening. Then we we come to the present time, right? Where Airwave, if you remember at the end of issue 5, Airwave basically uses powers. He gets Grodd out of there, and that's where we see the younger version of the Legion of Doom. So Airwave finally realizes who Grodd's friends are, right?
Yeah.
And he feels betrayed. And it's interesting because, again, it didn't make sense when we saw his character at the very beginning. Like, you don't strike me as this kind of dark Lord of the Sith kind of kid.
Yeah. He was, again, like Grodd did a great job, and again, he's good at manipulation. He also had the enhanced powers of Martian Manhunter, which he got through, just happened to just pop in there, right? Like I guess maybe he's part of his telekinetic psychic abilities and saw it and maybe reached out and grabbed that when it was transporting or got pulled from from John Jones. And then he does talk about how he, because Airwave is kind of a blank slate, he doesn't remember a lot. He kind of convinced Airwave that maybe Justice League was lying to him. Maybe they were the bad guys. Maybe they could have, like you said, could have come and helped him and didn't. So this whole time, it's not like Airwave was under mind control of Grodd.
I got mind control over Debo. He be like, shut the fuck up. I be quiet. But when he leave, I be talking again.
He was just told a lie. A couple lies. One, obviously, he's not dying from tachyon particles. But two, he got told that, Justice League was not in his best interest. So, hey, help me and my friends. We can help you out. And like you said, he shows up saving Grodd because at this point, Airwave hadn't seen his friends, right? He didn't take him with him in the past to go get the Legion of Doom. All of a sudden, he's like, take me out of there. Save me from these, evil superheroes.
Somebody save me. Sorry.
Boom, pops in there. Now he realizes it's like, oh, I know you guys. You're the Joker. You're Bizarro. You're bad. Like, I know you guys. We were talking about you back at the OG, the Watchtower. So yeah, now he's kind of feels betrayed, and he's
because one thing Grodd does is he shows certain, like, basically mental images of the Justice League when out of context, it can make them look
Yes.
bad, right?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
'cause anytime you do something out of context, if somebody doesn't know the extent behind it, it can look a completely different way. It's all about perception of events, right? So when you're already
Yeah.
kind of seeding this doubt, he kind of mentally projects these images and shows. But now, okay, he feels betrayed. However, Grodd basically shoots him, and it looks like he's turned to dust, right? He's just a pile
Yeah.
on the ground, right?
They all took a shot. It looked like, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't look like Airwave
Yeah.
survived. He was definitely the
No.
cannon fodder. Because very end, the actual Justice League members kind of realizing, and start to put some of the puzzle pieces together, but also feeling betrayed themselves that Airwave did this. They show up because they known who had done it at the end of issue 5 there, and all Grodd says, "It's time, friends." Boom. Roll credits at the end.
Yeah.
That is issue 6.
Here's the two things, or a couple of things at the end there that are important too, that I think. So Grodd did use, before he kills him, one, he got all the knowledge that Airwave saw while he was at Watchtower.
Yes.
So he now knows some of the secrets and stuff that he got exposed to there. Secondly, something cryptic Grodd said was something about we need like the tachyon. We need one last charge of tachyon for this next phase or something like that. But it doesn't actually say what that is. And maybe he got interrupted after they blew him away because, yeah, like you said, the Justice League kind of shows up right then. So I was curious of what they need. He needed that last burst of tachyon particles for, if it wasn't to go either forward or backwards in time again.
Might be to go get Darkseid.
Oh, fuck me. Yeah, because Darkseid's dead, but he wouldn't be dead in the past, which is like, why wouldn't Grodd go get him?
Maybe Grodd doesn't want to share power, right? Like,
oh,
Grodd
that's
likes,
true. Yeah,
he likes this. Whereas, Grodd is more of a planetary, like wanting to take over and have the apes be in power and in control. Where Darkseid's kind of a universal. I'm going to rule the whole freaking universe. The multiverse, like he's kind of more of that, right? And he doesn't like other people that have the ability to challenge his power. Not that Grodd is anywhere on near the level that Darkseid is, but it could be that. But we don't know. Everything is tying in together slowly but surely. All of these things, because we know what's happening with the new gods and all of that, and then the Aquaman. All of that's tying in as well. So there's a lot going on, but it was nice to finally get some clarity on kind of what is happening, right? Because if you think about it, where we left off at issue 5 to where issue 6 ends, we moved hardly nowhere. We just went from them finding out who it was to them showing up at his doorstep. But all of the rest was backfilled information that we had been missing.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if you had read the previous Absolute Power lead up to this event when Darkseid dies there and creates this Justice League Unlimited series, none of this was exposed of what actually happened with Grodd. So, and again, it threw me a couple of things again at the end of 5 when you find out it's Grodd and you find out that he's got the Legion. Man, I was just like, what the hell is happening here? What? Like,
well, I thought it was interesting that they mentioned the Legion, but they also, when they mentioned him in the like midway through the comic, they're talking about how they reformed, right? Like Sinestro was back with the Green Lantern Corps. We know that happens multiple times throughout the comics. So you're like, dude, why would you go back and then all of a sudden just betray them again so easily? Which also does happen in the comics. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it didn't make a lot of sense. Then you're like, oh, he went and got their younger selves. That makes sense, right? What happened with Airwave versus what happens to him when we see him in Absolute Power. That makes sense because, basically he was out there floating for 57 years. Little Aliens reference, just joking. But he's out there floating, and he doesn't have much memory. Okay, yeah, easily influenced by God. That makes sense. So things it starts tying things together. So those are good episodes. It's like when you watch a TV show and you have a bunch of filler episodes and a bunch of episodes that don't really make sense, and they have that one that just ties everything together. Like, oh, okay, that's what they were doing.
Why didn't they just make this one?
Yeah, right. It was like that was kind of issue 6 for me with the Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah, I agree. It was good.
Good.
It's good. good.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
All right, guys. So that is issue 6. That is the wrap up. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have and you have made it with us this far, consider giving the video a like. Right? Costs nothing to be kind.
Yes.
Right there. You like that I cut that in on the last video?
Yeah. Damn kindful. Yeah.
Shutting the fuck up is also free too. That hit so hard with people and commenting and stuff like that. Like it costs nothing to be kind. Like you can also shut the fuck up. You don't have to say anything negative too. That's free as well. But like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to comment on the video, even if
Please
it is
do.
negative, we don't ever delete any comments. Right now, if it's negative, we may not respond to you, right? Because I feel like even if you respond to a negative comment and it's not the nicest thing in the world, then they turn it back around. You see, you can't handle this. Like you can't handle like somebody saying negative. I'm like, well, you apparently can't either. So,
dude,
we don't get into that whole war.
Negative all day long, man. I deal with it all day long. It's fine.
Yeah, right. At this point, and at our age, it's thick skin. I'm like, cool. We're not going to engage, right? But we do love engaging with the community. I've been trying to be better about responding to comments as they come in. So we thank you all for that, as well as everybody who is already subscribed. Make sure you have your bell notifications clicked so you can stay up to date as we continue down the Justice League Unlimited rabbit hole, as well as the Absolute Universe. Now, we got 6 different comics going on in the Absolute Universe, so we're trying to do them grouped together. So it's a little bit easier than, literally we'd have to put out a video every single day to keep up with some of this stuff.
Luckily, this week it was nothing in the Absolute Universe that released for whatever reason.
And I still ended up spending $20 in there because I got this all-in saga.
Got him.
It was worth it, though. All right, that's good because I have everything in one place. So if you have your bell notifications, we kind of always skip around in there. But where I was saying, if you have that, because we also have a lot going on in the DCU. We know we are just started in April, the summer of Superman. We are like 2 months and some change out from the movie coming out. So we have a lot of videos coming up, rumors just flying out like crazy. Be able to check out those videos as well. Mantis, do you have anything else?
No, just we appreciate everyone's support and keep liking, subscribing, and commenting. Love to hear from you.
And if there is a comic book series that you think we should get into, let us know. We can definitely be gentle, man. Think of our wallets.
Please. That's what I was like.
We already spending enough on comics, man.
Dude, I'm eating bean soup for dinner all week, all right? Like cover my habits.
Go grab a beer or pay for my comics.
I mean, like, honestly.
They got a loan. Because, guys, we don't have any Patreon, right? We're never asking you for money. This is all free content for you. You get the full, unedited versions of us being us. That may or may not be a good thing. Don't know. All right, guys, before we go off the rails here in this end of therapy session, that is going to wrap it for us on this episode of You, Me, and DC. Until next time, guys, we will see you then.
Later.